When I came back, he was stuffing my wife's face with cream cakes. Oh dear. This turkey challenged me to a fight. He threw down the giblet. I saw this angry Veruca. He was on the walked path. Oh dear. So I went on a date and all we talked about was wooden leg extensions. The conversation was stilted. I'm looking for a house at the moment. It's my house. I've forgotten where I live. Okay. I spent the whole of today pruning. I was just chucking prunes at people. Don't do that. Unless you can run faster than them. I fell in love with a clumsy cleaner. She swept me off my feet. Have you seen that great cricketing cook, Chef Boycott? I went to school with a boy who had a concrete bum. When he got to the cane, the teacher hit rock bottom. I see the number of people doing the high jump has leapt up. So I said to a friend of mine, I said, how come your sofa is covered in burnt patches? He said, my dog's been molten. What time did the man go to the dentist? Come on, you know it. 2:30. Why didn't the skeleton climb the mountain? It didn't have the guts. What do you call it when a snowman throws a tantrum? A meltdown. How many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh? 10 tickles. I have a joke about chemistry, but I don't think it will get a reaction. What cost just 45 cents? 50 cents featuring Nickelback. Okay, what does a bee use to brush its hair? Come on, you know this. What does a bee use to brush its hair? A honeycomb. I used to file my nails, but then I thought, what's the point in keeping them? Exit signs, they're on the way out. Black Beauty, he's a dark horse. I've got a sponge front door. Hey, don't knock it. I never sleep with fish. I'm halibut. I used to go out with a mackerel, and when we split up, she was very upset. I said there's plenty more men on the earth. I nearly read that up incorrectly. Yeah. Okay, last one. I'm being stalked by a sumo wrestler. I've got a big following. Oh dear. I should say at that point, I'd like to have a big following, so if you enjoy this kind of stuff, do subscribe. Thank you. I saw a bulrush in a library. I thought, that looks like a good read. So I rang up the fire brigade. I said, my pet sparrow is stuck up a tree. He said, sparrows are supposed to live in trees. I said, not Ian. Sorry, it took me a moment. So I took up arable farming, but I came at a cropper. This bloke kept hitting me with poultry. I got goosebumps. This bloke said to me, he said, do you want to scrape both your knees? He was a double grazing salesman. Now, no comments about the fact I'm Chinese and I pronounce it grazing, not glazing. He said, I'm a male rabbit and I'm not moving. I said, oh, I see. The buck stops here. He said, are you looking at me? It was Rabbit De Niro. Okay. So I looked around and there was a partridge, a grouse and a pheasant, all dressed as clowns, game for a laugh. I'll tell you what makes my blood boil: crematoriums. I've always been very lazy. I've got a smoke alarm that's got a snooze button. I was going to write my will today, but then I thought, life's too short. I saw one of those motorbikes with the roof that goes right over the top. I couldn't believe it. I thought someone had hot-wired a photo booth. This bloke said to me, he said, I once got my dog to retrieve a stick from 100 miles away. I said, that's a bit far-fetched. I don't like my hands. I always keep them at arm's length. Okay. Number 3. This reporter said to me, he said, how would you describe the absence of Halley's flaming meteorite? I said, no comment. I'm amazed how many people go to Ascot when it's windy. Still, hats off to them. Me and my brother inherited some furniture from the local zoo. I'm glad to say I got the lion's chair. I thought Tom Cruise was a boating holiday for male cats. I went to a posh party and everyone was drinking and knitting. I got pins and needles. I'm on a seabed diet. If I see a bed, I eat it. Silly. Frozen apples, they're hardcore. Whenever I wash up, I get covered in soapy bubbles. It's Sud's Law. My local village was destroyed by toilet paper. Everyone was wiped out. So I was in the party shop with my granny. She said, this kaleidoscope's rubbish. I said, that's a balloon pump. So I saw this dolphin serial killer. It was Jack the Flipper. I was working in a travel agent and this bloke walked in. He said, I want to book a flight, very short notice. I said, you've just missed it. He said, I want to go somewhere hot and secluded. So I locked him in the photocopy room. Today I went shoplifting while balanced on the shoulders of a group of vampires. I was done for theft on 4 counts. People with guns who say, give me your money, you've got to hand it to them. I was a terrible builder. When the foreman said to me, have you got a plumb line? I said, the one I usually use is, have you got a plum? So I went to my GP and said, I feel like I've been hit on the head by a set of bongos. He said, you've probably got slight percussion. He said, you're turning into an airport. I said, is it terminal? Whenever I'm in Italy, I become a rickety old table. I guess I'm just a hopeless Rome antique. My granddad was a film actor a very long time ago. He was a star of the bronze screen. ... dash dash dash. I really regret that. Remorse code. After I've had an argument, I sometimes hold a hoover over my head. It helps clear the air. The other day I sat on a hairdryer. That put the wind up me. So I was lying in a bath of meth and my girlfriend rang up and said she was lying in a bath of paraffin. I said, I'm with you in spirit. So I was on this train I said, I don't think much of this bunk bed. He said, that's the luggage rack. This bloke said to me, he said, do you ever talk off the top of your head? I said, no, halfway down at the front. I went on holiday with my horse. It was self-cantering. Oh dear. So I said to this bloke, I said, when I was on holiday, I stayed in a bed and breakfast. He said, half bored. I said, no, I was totally bored. I was a rubbish church window cleaner. I got rid of all the stains. This bloke said to me, he said, shall we talk about diaries? I said, let's. That's spelled L-E-T-T-S. Today I went shoplifting while balanced on the shoulders of a group of vampires. I was done for theft on 4 counts. People with guns who say, give me your money, you've got to hand it to them. I was a terrible builder. When the foreman said to me, have you got a plumb line? I said, the one I usually use is, have you got a plumb? So I went to my GP and said, I feel like I've been hit on the head by a set of bongos. He said, you've probably got slight percussion. He said, you're turning into an airport. I said, is it terminal? He said, antiseptic? I said, I've got nothing against the Jews. Dear. Do you ever get that when you're halfway through eating a horse and you think to yourself, I'm not as hungry as I thought I was? I've got a horse called Treacle. He's got golden stirrups. Okay. The other day I sat on a hairdryer. That put the wind up me. So I was lying in a bath of meth, and my girlfriend rang up and said she was lying in a bath of paraffin. I said, I'm with you in spirit. I've got a friend who's a very tall blade of grass. He's easily swayed. This bloke said to me, he said, I bet you can't name a famous Egyptian landmark. I said, that's what you Sphinx. My dog's bark is worse than his bite because he hasn't got any teeth. And when he barks, people's ears explode. I saw a 20-foot parrot the other day. You could knock me down with a feather. Continuing with my exploration of Tim Vine's joke book. So here we go. And bear in mind I haven't read any of these beforehand, so I'm just going through them. I saw this extinct bird with a hunchback. It was Quasimodo. I've started displaying some of my clothes and possessions and photographs of me. I've made an exhibition of myself. I didn't have a happy upbringing. I remember my 3rd birthday party. I was 15. The Second World War was no picnic because they couldn't find a big enough blanket. Okay, so I went to the petrol station. I said, fill her up. When I came back, he was stuffing my wife's face with cream cakes. Oh dear. This turkey challenged me to a fight. He threw down the giblet. I saw this angry Veruca. He was on the walked path. Oh dear. So I went on a date and all we talked about was wooden leg extensions. The conversation was stilted. I'm looking for a house at the moment. It's my house. I've forgotten where I live. too long to think about that one. Okay, finally. I spent the whole of today pruning. I was just chucking prunes at people. Don't do that. Unless you can run faster than them. Alright, more jokes from Tim Vine's biggest ever joke book. So, let's begin. Okay. I was driving here and a policeman stopped me because one of my tyres was a bit flat. Luckily, I had a foot pump in the boot. So I knocked him out with that and drove off. Okay. I was working in a garage. A little Bo Peep walked in. She said, "There's smoke coming out of my bonnet." I said, "Your hair's on fire." When I drive my car, eggs shoot out the boot. It's a hatchback.